Hello, Casey Justice here. Today I'm presenting on both Chapter 7 and 8, which cover the topics Quality, Organization, Service, and Human Resources and Policies, respectively. We will be starting off covering Chapter 7, Quality, Organizations, and Service. Jumping right into it, we start with productivity in the workplace. Productivity is when you are performing a function that adds value to the company. For a company, the key element of profitability is through productivity. So, for you as an employee, there are many things for you to be aware of in order for you to be providing peak productivity for your employer. First and foremost, you should behave ethically. You should be making decisions that reflect positively and be in the best interest of the company. Alongside that, it is important to take care of all company resources that have been entrusted to your care. This includes your ability to produce quality and eliminate waste. Lastly, and most importantly, you should maintain a positive attitude with your workplace through positive relations with your boss, coworkers, and customers. You should also always be open to learning new skills or developing already known skills to further expand your knowledge. Now, every company should have a strategy, a roadmap to success, if you will, that outlines the major goals and objectives. They do this by creating a strategic plan, a formal document that identifies how the company will secure, organize, utilize, and monitor its resources. A company does this by creating goals to declare what needs to be achieved to contribute to the success to the company strategy, and through objectives that identify the specific activities needed to achieve said goals. However, before any of this should happen, the company should already have a foundation for themselves. They can do this through directional statements, which are simply just statements that explain why the company exists in the first place and how they operate themselves as a company. They share this through a mission statement, which is their statement of purpose or existence, their vision statement, which is a goal they set for themselves that will, of course, take time, but will also still be achievable, and through a value statement, which states what they believe in and how they behave. Common values companies have include providing a healthy return on investments, taking care of the environment and their employees, and keeping their customers satisfied. All of these statements can usually be found listed on a company's website, and it is a good idea that an employee know what these statements are. Most importantly, the mission statement, which is best if it is memorized and copy is kept. As with anything, there is a hierarchy or a chain of command. In the case of companies, they follow an organization structure, much like in the organizational chart pictured here. Starting off at the top, we have the president or CEO, who is the leader of the company and is the one to implement the company strategy. They report directly to the board of directors, which is a group of individuals that are responsible for developing the overall company strategy and many major policies, guided by the feedback of investors. Under the president, we have executive managers, also known as senior managers or vice presidents. They work directly with the president to identify strategic issues and implement strategies that deal directly into the company strategy. Under your executive managers, you have middle managers, which are your directors. They deal directly to tactical issues, which focus on linking the company strategy to the day-to-day operations. Under them, you have operation managers, which are your supervisors and assistant managers. They deal with operational issues, which are your day-to-day issues that might occur. Becoming an operation manager is your first step into a manager position because they oversee all the working employees that are working towards the company's strategy. Now, we saw on the previous page the general breakdown of the chain of command. We can now take that a step further and see an expanding version with all the different departments within an organization. Again, we start with the president, but then we move down into the vice presidents or senior managers that are directly over these different departments. We begin with marketing, which is responsible for all of the creating, pricing, selling, and promotion of the company product or products. Then you have operations, which deals with the production and distribution of the products created through the marketing department. After that, we have the finance and accounting department, and they are responsible for securing, distributing, and growing the company's assets. Then there is the information systems department, which handles the electronic management of information within the organization. essentially records keeping in IT. Not listed in the image, there is also the Human Resources Department and Legal Counsel. Human Resources is responsible for all recruiting, hiring, training, evaluating, compensating, promoting, and terminating of employees. And of course, Legal Counsel handles all the company's legal matters. Now that we have grasped the introductory concepts of what makes up an organization, we can now refer back to the chapter title, Quality Organizations and Service, and delve into what makes a company a quality organization. Well, of course, a company must make quality products in the form of either goods, which are tangible objects, or services, which are intangible products. However, for companies to have these quality products, there must first be an expression of creativity to come up with new and unique items, services, or systems, and the innovation to turn all of those creative ideas into reality. And upon the most important, for a company to be a quality organization, they must have excellent customer service, which is the gateway to the company's success and the reason why customers will keep on coming. But when employees think of customers, they only think about half of them, which is the external customers, the individuals that are on the outside of the company. Many forget that employees are also customers. So when providing customer service, it is important to provide that to both the internal customers, which are, again, the employees of the company, and the external customers, which is everyone else. And, of course, without fail, there will come a time where there will be a less than satisfied customer, and you'll have to handle the customer's complaint. The first step in doing so is to stay calm. Let the customer have the chance to talk and air their grievances while you listen for the facts. It is also important to watch their body language. This will also help you determine what they are saying is fact or not. Again, you want to listen and acknowledge the customer's frustration without interruption. When they are finished airing those frustrations, then you can begin to come up with a resolution to solve their problem. However, in doing so, you must also keep in mind what the company policy is, and there are oftentimes policies in place on what can and cannot be done to resolve a customer complaint. And of course, there is always going to be conflict in these situations when there is an upset party involved, but it is important that you remain your ground and not accept abuse of any form, and that includes verbal abuse and foul language directed at you. Moving on to the next chapter, Chapter 8, Human Resources and Policies, which covers the policies and rights that you have as an employee. First, we start with the employee orientation, which is where every employee starts out. This is a time for the company's purpose, structure, major policies, procedures, benefits, and other important matters are to be explained. It is also a time in which you will receive company property such as an employee ID or keys. During the beginning phase, you will learn the corporate culture, where you will have a better understanding of the company politics, policies, and the behavior that is expected of you. It is also a good idea to find a mentor, someone who can assist you in developing leadership skills, provide support, expand your professional network or relationships, and help you to grow in your career. All things that are good in helping you to increase the chances of future career advancements. In the event that the company you work for does not have a formal mentoring program, you should attempt to establish an informal mentoring relationship. Remember that mentoring relationships cannot be forced, so don't push someone too hard on becoming your mentor. Something that you will receive early on in your employment is an employee handbook. This outlines an employee's agreement with the employer regarding work conditions, policies, and beliefs. Some policies listed in the employee handbook are legally required, while others are at the dispense of the company and usually address conduct and beliefs. Usually, a representative of the company goes over the employee handbook with you and you will sign an agreement which is legally binding. Some of the policies within the employee handbook include employee at will, which is a major policy statement usually placed at the beginning of an employee handbook and is legally required in many states. This policy contractually obligates employees to work for the company for a specified amount of time. Another policy in the handbook is the right to revise, which is a statement that provides the employer with the opportunity to change or revise any existing policies. Most of the time, you will sign off on these separately from the rest of the handbook. Also enclosed in the handbook are policies regarding the equal employment opportunity and discrimination, both of which state that you have an equal chance of employment without the risk of discrimination. Additionally, they handle topics of unlawful harassment within the workplace, whether that be sexual harassment, a hostile workplace, or hate crimes. It is important to note that many companies stress an open door policy, meaning that human resources or management is open at any time if there is a concern that needs to be addressed. You should never feel unsafe in your working environment, so it is important that you handle things with care and take it to HR or your supervisor if things get out of hand. On top of orientation in the employment handbook, it is important to understand what your employment status is because this determines your hours and if you are eligible for benefits or not. Full-time employees usually work a predetermined number of hours per week, which is usually between 30 and 40 hours, and are eligible for employee benefits. Additionally, for full-time employees that are not listed as exempt, they are entitled to overtime pay beyond the 40 hours. On contrast, part-time employees have varied work hours and typically don't qualify for employee benefits. Lastly, there are temporary employees, which are simply those who are hired for a specific time period. This is typically either to assist during busier months of the year or to replace an employee that is on extended leave. Other things that are important to identify is whether or not the company has an introductory period, which typically takes place within the first 1 to 3 months of employment, and is a time provided to employers in which they can evaluate a newly hired employee's performance and determine whether they are a good fit to the company and should continue employment with them. If the company does have an introductory period, it is important to know the length of the introductory period. You should also learn what factors will be used to evaluate your performance during the introductory period. It is also important to identify if and when you will become eligible for benefits. Beyond the introductory period, there will be performance reviews conducted from time to time. These performance reviews identify and measure daily productivity, efficiency, and behavior, and will help the employee know in what areas they need to work on to better themselves at work. After a performance evaluation has been delivered, you as an employee will make a written response to the evaluation. In this response, it is important to not become emotional over the critiques and only to provide facts where you agree and disagree with the evaluation. It is also important to keep photocopies to document these performance evaluations, and more especially important that you do not sign off on an evaluation that contains statements in which you do not agree with. In many cases, performance evaluations can determine the termination of an employee. Moving right along, we can finally talk about benefits. What are they? Benefits are things provided by the company as further incentives for employees to work for them. In most cases, benefits include healthcare and vacations. However, not all employers are required to provide healthcare. In fact, benefits vary from company to company and even from one position to another. Providing employees with their own choice in benefits is coined as the cafeteria plan. Now, what are the different kinds of benefits and what do they do? Well, starting with medical benefits, they usually include coverage for any physician and hospital visits. In some cases, this can also include chiropractic and physical therapy visits as well. As you can guess, vision benefits provide care for your eyes, and dental benefits, of course, provide care for your teeth. All of these fall under healthcare benefits, but not all companies provide every single one. Medical is usually the standard across most companies. Something that is important to note for these benefits is to know what they will cover because it doesn't usually cover all and is often dependent on the number of visits. The standard for this is twice a year visits, but again, you should always check what is covered. Besides healthcare benefits, there is also vacation. It is pretty standard for companies to provide an allotted number of hours of paid vacation that can be taken every year. The hours vary, and it is important that you know how many hours you can have and keep track as you use them throughout the year. Going alongside this are sick days or sick leave, family leave, and maternity leave. Again, there is usually a preset number of days these can be taken and are often used in case of emergencies. Then there are retirement plan benefits, something that you should start up as soon as it is available because it is a savings plan for when you decide to permanently leave the workforce. You'll want to live comfortably when you retire, so it is important to begin saving sooner rather than later, so there is plenty of money put into savings to fall back on. And finally, there are unions, which aren't available for everybody, but for those that they are available to, they can be rather important. Unions are organizations who have the sole purpose of protecting the rights of employees. They will have a bargaining agreement with your employers, which is essentially a contract between them. It is important to take advantage of having a union so that you have another party involved in if your rights as an employee are infringed upon.